Dominican Republic has many aspects that can be summarized as follows. 1, the question of race and identity and how Dominicans perceive Haitians. 2, the question of immigration. 3, the question of citizenship affected by the government policies put in place over the past 10 years. And 4, the question of what can be done to help end this crisis. As we know, race and identity are the results of constructs, notions that privileged thinkers came up with to justify the actions of the ruling class in detriment of the working class. For example, during the colonization, slave owners justified slavery by inventing the notion that Africans were subhuman or not human, and therefore could be enslaved by Europeans who were deemed superior. Racial ideology gave them a clear conscience about doing something that was obviously wrong. When Haiti defeated Napoleon and killed 50,000 French troops to free itself from slavery and became the first black republic of the world, they were constructed by slave-owning powers as demons, savages, and cannibals. At the same time, Europeans cast those who lived on the other side of the island, the ancestors of today's Dominicans, as their opposite, the white, Catholic, civilized, and obedient descendants of Spaniards. Ever since, this Creole elite reproduced this opposition and used it to construct the identity of the Dominican nation. A recurring figure in this construction is the image of the Haitian cannibal, which reappears in oral traditions, legends, and literature from the 18th century to the 20th as the comegente, the man-eater, which is the ancestor of El Cuco, the boogeyman, a monstrous creature that eats Dominican children who misbehave. And this is still used today. Trujillo's ideologues, such as Balaguer, expanded the figure of the individual Cuco into a larger one, the nation Cuco, the cannibal Haiti, whose blackness, he argued, needed to be contained in Haiti lest it expand to the Dominican Republic and devour the entire nation. In so doing, Balaguer created the myth of the so-called fusion of the two nations that today's conservatives keep deploying as the hidden agenda of Haitians who, accordingly, always wanted to invade us. As Dominican scholar Silvio Torres Sayan said in a recent presentation, in this hemisphere at least, we are all racist by default. We are not born racist, but as we become integrated into our societies, we are likely to receive established notions of race to inform our perceptions of others, whether we are in the United States, Latin America, or the Caribbean. It takes an entire work of rigorous, unflinching self-examination and critical deconstruction with tools that are not always available to everyone to dismantle these notions of race, decolonize ourselves from internalized racism, and break the circle by educating our children with a non-racist view of the world. In this sense, Dominicans are no different than others. Some will have access to the tools to enlighten them against racism, and many will not. It is the task of scholars, teachers, writers, and artists to help dismantle such ideologies. Having said this, not all the history of the relation between Haiti and the Dominican Republic has been one of hostility and fear or a fatal conflict that will somehow doom this relationship forever. Indeed, there is a discourse and a practice of solidarity and mutual support that can be traced all the way to the Dominican independence in 1844, when one of the founders, Juan Pablo Duarte, expressed his admiration to the Haitian people for being the first to resist and defeat the European slave system. Gregorio Luperón, another founder of the nation, also referred to the Haitian people as this pueblo hermano, brother people, and appreciated the support Haiti gave to Dominicans when, in 1865, they were fighting against Spain to restore their independence and sovereignty. In recent history, Haitians gave their support to Dominicans when, in 1965, hundreds of Haitian exiles who had fled the Duvalier dictatorship and taken refuge under the protection of the Juan Bosch regime joined the forces of the Constitucionalistas to fight the US troops that occupied the Dominican Republic in the aftermath of the coup that overthrew Juan Bosch, the first democratically elected president after the Trujillo regime. Dominican and Haitian workers, too, joined efforts as members of unions fighting for fair labor practices. As Haitian diplomat and sociologist Guy Alexandre observed, in the years spanning from the fall of Duvalier in 1986 to 2005, both nations were actually getting closer, with journalists and teachers and scholars of both sides visiting and rediscovering each other. In the mid-90s, a commercial boom of Dominican imports to Haiti erupted as a result of the international embargo placed against those who overthrew Aristide. And yes, there is a dominance of commercial from the Dominican Republic to Haiti, but that's also the weakness. And we can talk more about that. Finally, Dominicans and Haitians also saw a moment of extraordinary solidarity when, in the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake, Haiti received massive support and relief aid from the Dominican Republic. The fact is that because of the proximity of Haiti, Dominicans are perhaps more prone than others to be prey of the manipulative discourses of those who benefit from having them pitted against Haitians. At the same time, however, because of this proximity, Dominicans also have a particularly privileged position of access to Haitians. Certainly, in recent years, we have witnessed a revival of anti-Haitian sentiments and horrific criminal actions against Haitians. But another reality that gets little press and little media attention is that of the many towns and neighborhoods in which both Haitians and Dominicans coexist peacefully. My point here is, there is a history of understanding and fraternity between these two nations, a history of complex dynamics that is far from a static, monolithic, binary history of us against them, of one nation against the other, and that can be drawn upon to defeat current revivals of racist, anti-Haitian discourses and practices, and in particular the current crisis provoked by the court ruling 168-13. Just as colonizers used racist ideologies to justify the trade and exploitation of other human beings, Dominican elites also use it to justify the exploitation and mistreatment of Haitian workers, and with Sentencia 168-13, the creation of an underclass of postmodern slaves. In our day and age, these oppressors don't need shackles and chains to exploit people beyond the unspeakable. All they need is keep them with no identity, no documents to signify their place in society, to get access to schools and better jobs, to pursue the hope of a better life. Many Dominicans are confused about the sentencia and are on the wrong side of the debate because they have been led by their government and media to believe that this is just an immigration policy to regulate the presence of Haitians. But let's be clear on this one. The sentencia is not an immigration issue, and it is not your run-of-the-mill racist practice. It affects the human rights of those born on Dominican soil, which by definition makes them non-immigrants. What this sentencia represents is an astutely disguised, institutionalized recreation and attempt to legitimize a slave system with their own population. Many Dominicans on the island and abroad disapprove the sentencia, and some of us have openly denounced it and pressured the government to act against it. But not enough have done so. Many are afraid to speak up and criticize the government as if they were living under a dictatorship, a postmodern one that doesn't need physical modes to defeat dissent. Many are afraid to lose their jobs, their privileges, their access to a certain status of power. Luckily, the efforts of local activists and journalists have been supported by an international mobilization to pressure the Dominican government. And under this pressure, Dominican President Danilo Medina decreed Law 169-14, which partially resolved the issue, but not entirely. Last summer, authorities claimed they could recognize the citizenship of 55,000 people affected by the sentencia. But subsequently reports have revealed that many have not been able to recover their documents. The process has been fraught with administrative disorder and incompetence on the one hand, but also with officers who may be biased and use this moment to enjoy their little Trujillo moment, their own power trip. Ultimately, there has been a lack of political will from the government. In addition, Law 169-14 only recognized the citizenship of those who already had a birth certificate or a cedula, leaving those who, for whatever reason, were never declared at birth stateless and subject to all types of violations of their human, civil, and labor rights. Now, what can be done with this? And I'm sorry if I'm taking an extra minute. Yes, we need to keep pressuring the Dominican government. Ultimately, the most effective pressure will come from other governments. For instance, Haiti and the US can put a ban on Dominican products, and that's the weakness. If you cut those products from coming into Haiti, you're gonna get some results. As citizens, we can ask Congress, as Juno Diaz and Edwidge Danticat recently did, to investigate and pressure the Dominican government. And similarly, Haitians can ask their governments to pressure the Dominican government through commercial sanctions. In addition to all that, it is equally imperative to combat racism by pushing for a radical transformation in our mental representations of Haiti. The intellectual and artistic communities of both sides of the island need to help dismantle these stereotypes and excavate alternative narratives with which to reimagine models of relation between the two countries. Dominicans can't go on living with this image of Haitians as dehumanized creatures who are going to come and eat us alive. Haiti is not a cuckoo. Not only it is part of the same beautiful island, but its people also have an amazing historical resilience and a glorious ability to survive and to overcome the most crushing obstacles. Their rich culture is manifest in their music, their art, their literature, their oral traditions and religions, and they too have to contend with an elite that oppresses them, exploits them, and keeps them without documents and without access to education and better jobs. Those at the bottom of both sides of the island need to continue to reach out to each other. Thanks.